Most of what veterinarians know about dog nutrition comes from the pet food companies.
Simply put, the future of the dog food is sustainable, and you can't achieve it by animal-based product.
In my professional life, I saw much more meat-based diets that caused deficiencies than vegan diets.
We are not replacing the meat ingredient per se, but we're rather replacing the process, the way that it's manufactured.
Tällä hetkellä Suomessa on kaikki käytännössä jo vapaita kanoja. Tällä hetkellä niillä on ihan hyvä tilanne, parempi kuin monella ihmisellä maailmassa.
Varsinkin sen märkäruoan osalta niin todella hälyttäviä. Eli siinä paukkuu jo niin kuin naudanlihan hiilijalanjälki rikki.
Jos miettii, että se verrokkituote on vaikka soijarouhe, mikä on valmistettu Brasiliassa, niin meidän vastaavan tuotteen hiilijalanjälki on noin 1/10 siitä.
Focus should be on nutrients they need and not on source of ingredients in diet.
Using bike products increases the environmental impacts by a factor of 1.4, so it's a 40% increase actually compared to if you used a human grade meat.
And just to get rid of all animal products in the food chain, because we don't need it.
It is estimated that approximately 30% of households globally have a dog, totaling between 700 million to 1 billion dogs. It is fair to say that most of these dogs eat dry kibbles as their main source of food. These kibbles contain most often meat or meat-based products as the main source of protein. Generally, dog owners love to see their dogs as a primitive predator whose lifeblood is meat. In the past years, there have been more and more discussion about the alternative diets, such as vegetarian and vegan options, which could benefit dogs even more. But is the dog a carnivore or an omnivore, or something else?
Dogs certainly started off as carnivores, but today they're omnivores. They evolved from carnivorous wolves who followed our ancestors around the landscape as we were hunter-gatherers hunting game animals.
Well, based on an evolutionary point of view, dogs are omnivores, and they differ from wolves in several aspects, mainly in their capacity to digest starch.
Dogs are omnivores. It's a fact that's grounded in evolutionary biology, and it's confirmed by contemporary science, so modern day science.
Koira on mielestäni sekasyöjä ja se perustuu tieteelliseen tutkimukseen.
However, unlike humans who are omnivores, dogs and cats are taxonomic carnivores.
The dog is a carnivore. The digestive tract of the dog is shorter than most omnivores, and therefore is more suited for a carnivorous diet. However, because of domestication, the dog is also able to digest plant-based materials.
While many people think dogs are carnivore, there are a lot of data that proves dogs are actually omnivores. It means that they can obtain all the necessary nutrition from both plant and animal sources.
This is what made them omnivores actually, and they can digest starch, they have a lower protein need than wolves, and they can live on a plant-based diet if it's really well adapted to the dog's needs. So it's actually making meat unnecessary.
It's actually not a very easy question because you cannot really say that all dogs are omnivores. Some dogs are very carnivorous and other dogs are more omnivores. Certain types of breeds like the huskies and other very kind of natural breeds.
In fact, this debate is less relevant today. And I will explain this by giving an example of dairy cows. Dairy cows are fed diets that include meat, blood, and bone meal. For some reasons, no one is questioning if cows are herbivores or meat eaters, or if their milk would be more appropriate for human consumption if the cows use food that is appropriate for their species. Cows thrive on this diet like dogs thrive on complete and balanced vegan dog food. This brings us to conclusion that focus should be on nutrients they need and not on source of ingredients in diet.
After 1 month with 100% plant-based kibble, I'm very surprised in a positive way. All my dogs seem to really enjoy their new food. I have regularly checked their body weights and there is nothing to worry about. I have also noticed that some of the dogs are now more playful and seem to have more energy. I will definitely continue with the vegan option for my dogs. I see no reason to go back to the previous diet they were on. Of course, I have to be aware that I have to monitor this change for quite a long time. 1 month is technically nothing, so I have to keep like the second month, the third and the fourth and fifth. Maybe after 1 year I can say if that diet is really working and being good for my dogs.
It could be argued that dogs and cats eat meat that humans cannot consume, and which is simply a byproduct of production for human use, and therefore should not be counted as consumption beyond that of humans. To some extent, this is certainly true. Humans, for instance, do not generally consume bone meal, a common ingredient. But other ingredients in pet food that are byproducts of human meat production are certainly edible after processing. And much pet food probably is already edible and serves as a potential source of protein as a food of last resort. There are reports even from mid-1970s, both official and unofficial, of impoverished Americans eating pet food as a necessary supplement to their diet. And April 2024, BBC published an article mentioning a couple in March, Cambridgeshire, helping and feed people who were eating dog food. The term byproduct strongly implies parts of animals that are not fit for human consumption. Is this really the case? What is a byproduct? Honkajoki is the Finland's leading handler and processor of animal byproducts. The company produces high-quality renewable raw materials for animal nutrition, biofuels and fertilisers. About 260,000 tonnes of animal byproducts are produced in Finland every year. Almost 80% of these side streams are upcycled by Honkajoki to industrial products according to Finnish and EU regulations.
Riippuen vähän eläimestä, mutta tyypillisesti ihan 60% ehkä siitä eläimen ruoasta menee elintarvikkeiksi. Loput 40% on sivutuotteita, mikä tulee meille kierrätettäväksi. Ja sehän tarkoittaa, että silloin että se eläinproteiini ja eläinrasva kierrätetään takaisin teollisuuden käyttöön. Eli 100% tulee käytettyä hyväksi.
Teurastamojen elintarvikekelpoiset sivutuotteet tulee siihen myös lemmikkiruokiin. Ja sitten kun meillä on se raatokeräily, niin se menee sitten lannoiteraaka-aineeksi.
Kaikki nämä lemmikkieläinruokiin menevät valkuaisjauhot valmistetaan luokan 3 sivutuotteesta. Se luokka 3 tarkoittaa sitä, että se on niin kuin se turvallisin kategoria, mitä saa käyttää eläinruokinnassa. Eli luokka 3 tarkoittaa, että ne on elintarvikkeiksi hyväksyttyjä sivutuotteita.
Honkajoki keskitetysti ottaa vastaan suurista lihataloista sivuvirrat ja välillä vähän parempaakin virtaa, mitä sitten toi sieltä jää ylimääräistä ja käsittelee ne. Ja ne tulee tietysti myös hygieenisenä tänne, eli ne on varmaa, että siellä ei ole salmonellaa ja muuta, mitä sitten pääsi tehtaalle ja tasalaatuista massaa.
Our raw materials of animal origin are Category 3 feed materials, derived from food industry byproducts. That is, they all come from animals slaughtered and accepted for human food. None of our raw materials come from animals slaughtered solely for pet food purposes.
During my environmental study, I was able to work out what was the proportion of byproducts used in pet food across the US and also globally. Globally, about 3/4 of the animal-based ingredients within dog food are animal byproducts. Within the US, it's around about half. That's because in the US, there's a tendency to use more expensive and premium brands which use less byproducts.
Consumers just want to have higher quality food for their own dogs. They actually really want the human grade food. This is now fed to the dogs, and this is what makes it a little bit ethical, a little bit critical, because dogs can actually live on byproducts, but as the consumer wants to have the human grade and the high quality, we are now using also meat. This is made for humans just in dog food. But whether it's labeled waste or not, we don't need meat to meet the dog's nutritional needs.
The pet food industry seems to chant a mantra that the animal products in pet food are mostly, in quotes, rendered side stream stuff. This means that the meat used is uneatable for humans and is indirectly taken from slaughterhouses as a byproduct and would otherwise be wasted. Is this just a marketing tactic to position the industry as a recycler rather than a polluter, or is it really the case?
Using the byproducts, you need a lot more to slaughter animals to cover the amount of meat you need.
And wherever byproducts are used, the byproduct fraction requires 40% more livestock animals to produce than if you were just using human-grade meat. So it increases the environmental impacts quite substantially, although it does lower the cost, and that's why manufacturers use those ingredients.
It seems very confusing, and some people are sure that the words byproduct or side stream are just nice little euphemisms for assorted body parts, slaughterhouse wastes, 4D meat from animals who are dead, dying, diseased or disabled on arrival at the slaughterhouse or supermarket rejects, and large numbers of rendered dogs and cats euthanized in animal shelters.
Se on vain eri sana. Eli kyllähän se kaikki, mikä lähtee teurastamolta, on ihmisille kelpaavaa. Että ne, mitkä ei mene käytännössä niihin Ikean lihapulliin esimerkiksi, niin ne menee sitten sinne Honkajoelle ja ne jalostaa sen sitten tähän muotoon.
Just, okei, hyvä.
Ei se jätteenä lähde teurastamolta koskaan, että se olisi ihmisille kelpaamatonta, mutta se, että niitä Ikean lihapullia tai siis vastaavia ei vaan kulu tiettyä määrää enempää.
None of our raw materials come from animals slaughtered solely for pet food purposes. We operate in accordance with legislation regarding raw material traceability. Regarding the domestic meat origin raw material, the traceability chain is short, and, if necessary, it is possible to trace the raw material down to the farmer level. The farmer's information is under the control of the slaughterhouses. Domestic slaughterhouses are directly our suppliers. For the consumer, we provide information about the country of origin, for example, Finland. For foreign meat, the chain is longer, but traceability can also be guaranteed as required by legislation. The byproduct market is limited, and, for example, the raw material batches we use from the EU may contain raw material from several EU countries. In this case, the country of origin is the EU.
The use of byproducts is a low-cost, dirty ingredient. It has a higher environmental footprint. It creates a greater environmental burden just to lower the costs and increase profits for manufacturers.
The other thing is, look at the byproduct of oil, it's plastics, and we're seeing the damage that plastics are doing. And the fact is, the damage of the byproduct of the agricultural industry, you're getting very low quality. They're carcasses, they're full of antibiotics, and the issue of zoonotic diseases, we haven't even raised that either, and the impact on climate change and the melting of glaciers and more zoonotic diseases being released as a result of that. So it just doesn't make sense.
Sivutuotteiden lainsäädäntö on tiukka, mitä kaikki EU-maat joutuu noudattaa. Mutta tuolla maailmalla niin edelleenkin merkittävä osa näistä niin kuin teurastamon tähteistä, niin ne vaan sitten kaatopaikalle ajetaan. mikä tietenkin luo niin kuin tautiriskin ja lisäksi on niin kuin sanotaanko arvokkaan raaka-aineen, eli proteiinin hukkaan heittämistä. Mutta Suomessa me ollaan niin kuin edelläkävijöitä, eli meillähän tämä tämmöinen renderöinti ja näin niin kuin sivutuotteiden jatkojalostaminen on ihan arkipäivää. Tämä Honkajoki on 57 vuotta vanha yritys ja tätä ollaan tehty vuosikymmeniä Suomessa. Mutta tämä ei ole mitenkään itsestäänselvyys niin kuin maailmalla, että meillä on myös liiketoiminta-alue, joka kaupallistaa tätä meidän osaamista ja ollaan viemässä sitä ennen kaikkea Aasiaan, missä niin kuin kerroin, niin valtaosa sivutuotteista hukataan. Niin me pyritään viemään tätä meidän konseptiosaamista, vastuullista kierrättämistä myös sitten sinne päin.
Using byproducts substantially increases the environmental footprint of pet food. It lowers the cost because those ingredients are cheaper, but it actually takes more livestock animals to produce the byproduct fraction than the human consumable fraction. Using byproducts increases the environmental impacts by a factor of 1.4, so it's a 40% increase actually compared to if you used a human grade meat.
Depending on the sources, it is estimated that today, 2024, there are 70 to 90 million vegans in the world. It might be a drop in the bucket, but it is a number that is rising as people are becoming more aware of sustainability issues. People are more and more interested in how the food and products they buy are produced and if these products are sustainable and environmentally friendly. One of the earliest known vegans was the Arab poet al-Ma'ari, famous for his poem I No Longer Steal From Nature. In al-Ma'ari's later years, he chose to stop consuming meat and all other animal products. That is, he became a practicing vegan.
Do not unjustly eat fish the water has given up, and do not desire as food the flesh of slaughtered animals, or the white milk of mothers who intended its pure draught for their young, not for noble ladies. And do not grieve the unsuspecting birds by taking their eggs, for injustice is the worst of crimes. And spare the honey which the bees get industriously from the flowers of fragrant plants, for they did not store it that it might belong to others, nor did they gather it for bounty and gifts. I washed my hands of all this, and wished that I had perceived my way before my hair went grey.
The 19th century English poet Percy Bysshe Shelley was one of the first prominent Europeans to eschew dairy and eggs in addition to meat for ethical reasons. Shelley wrote A Vindication of Natural Diet in 1813, in which he blamed societal problems on the consumption of meat. Interestingly, in the novel Frankenstein, or The Modern Prometheus, written 1818 by Shelley's wife Mary, Frankenstein's monster is portrayed as a vegetarian. The monster explained his vegetarian diet to Victor Frankenstein. My food is not that of man. I do not destroy the lamb and the kid to glut my appetite. Acorns and berries afford me sufficient nourishment. So, are there animals that survive eating plants exclusively? Answer is yes, and some of them are big, strong, powerful, and herbivorous. For example, both the Indian elephant as well as its larger cousin, the African elephant, are plant eaters and subsist wholly on plants. All 5 species of rhinoceros eat only plants as food. The list goes on, and for instance hippos, bison and wildebeests are plant eaters. Many vegans choose to avoid buying any animal products, even for their pets, to align with their ethical beliefs against animal exploitation and harm. Buying meat-based dog food would typically conflict with this principle.
I've been trying to follow vegan principles in my own diet for a long time, but lately I've been thinking that it feels strange and even wrong to feed my dogs kibble that contains meat. Despite the fact that my dogs seem to really enjoy their current food, they are healthy and their stomachs are working fine. Of course, the big dilemma is that should I change a diet that works to something that I'm not sure will work?
The discussion about whether dogs can eat a 100% vegetarian diet and live a healthy life is a relatively recent one and seems to divide the dog world into those who are against it, those who are curious about it, and those who see it as a necessary and serious option. In recent years, there have been more and more scientific studies supporting the fact that dogs can live a healthy life on a vegan diet. And on 24th July 2024, even the British Veterinary Association ends its opposition to vegan diets for dogs and says that it is possible to feed dogs a plant-based diet. Andrew Knight is an adjunct professor at Murdoch University Veterinary School in Australia. In 2024, Andrew Knight received a PhD in vegan pet food, appearing to be only the second veterinarian worldwide to achieve this. It is fascinating to hear him comment on the fact that many people say that vegan dog food is A, not healthy, and B, not safe for dogs.
So welcome to the stage, Andrew Knight. Thank you very much. Thanks very much.
So I had looked at this problem. I was seriously concerned about it, and so I changed my own diet to a vegan diet. But I was a veterinarian in practice, treating thousands of dogs and cats, and I wondered what the potential might be for changing their diets as well. And I found that there was very little research actually that had really looked at the effects of a vegan diet on the health of dogs. And so that stimulated me to explore this whole area. You know, was it possible for dogs to be healthy, for example, on a vegan diet? I found that there was a lot of urban myths and urban legends that dogs couldn't be healthy on vegan diets. There would be all sorts of problems for them. But when I started looking for the scientific evidence, I actually didn't find any evidence to support that. Nearly all of the research that's occurred in this field, particularly looking at health outcomes for dogs on vegan diets, has occurred since 2021. So there hasn't been time yet for most vets to become aware of this research. So for these reasons, veterinary organisations such as the British Veterinary Association in the UK has consistently stated that they are opposed to feeding vegan diets to dogs.
As dog owners become more demanding about the food they feed their dogs, and as awareness and scientific evidence of the benefits of a completely plant-based diet for both humans and dogs has increased, many vets have started to recommend a vegan option for dogs, even though they themselves are not vegan by conviction.
Exactly, that's exactly what I see also in colleagues, like recently more, the recent years, that it's colleagues that have nothing to do with an ethical conviction towards veganism, but they still offer balanced meal plans on plant-based ingredients simply because the customers ask for it, and there's no reason not to do it for them. They just calculate a plant-based diet and that's it.
Of course, dogs do not decide to become vegan of their own free will. They don't know how to go to the supermarket and choose the kibbles, supplements, or ingredients to prepare delicious homemade meals. Their owners are responsible for ensuring that a plant-based diet has the right balance of ingredients for their dog's well-being and healthy life.
Actually, it all started with my dog Nelson, and he was suffering from several food allergies, and we tested everything the hypoallergenic dog food market had to offer, but actually nothing worked really out at the end. And at one point, my vet suggested me to feed Nelson a vegan diet, and it's I think more than 14 years ago or 15 years ago, and the vegan topic wasn't as big as it was now. So at first I was a little bit skeptical, putting him on a vegan diet. But she made me some recipes for self-cooking, and after really a short time all his symptoms were gone, And what made the big difference to the other products before, he stayed healthy, so the symptoms never went back.
I like to start on the safe side and choose vegan kibble for my dogs. However, in the future, I would like to make all the food for our dogs here at home. That would be for me kind of the ultimate, honestly sustainable way to feed my dogs.
In the beginning, I did have many doubts. I had 2 hearts beating in my chest because I'm an ethical vegan myself for several years now, but I'm also a veterinarian and I need to put the health of my patient first, which is the dog in that matter. So I was very skeptical whether a plant-based diet can actually be healthy for a dog and whether it can meet all the nutritional requirements.
With a well-balanced mix of proteins, carbs, fat, vitamins and minerals, a vegan diet can give our dogs all the nutrition that they need to have a happy and healthy life. Recent studies have shown that dogs actually thrive on plant-based diets and they can live in an average a year and a half longer, which is like 10 human years, which is amazing.
Despite this counter-argument, some people are still concerned that it would be cruel to feed dogs and cats a nutritionally sound vegan diet. So more productive than people arguing back and forth amongst themselves, I think, is to actually ask the dogs, what do they feel about this issue? And so essentially we did that. We conducted the largest study that's been done so far. We looked at the feeding behaviour of more than 2,300 dogs at meal times to see how likely they were to display 10 indicators of palatability. That's whether they like or dislike their food. So whether the dogs were likely to be jumping up and down, barking, rushing towards the food bowl, guarding the food bowl, salivating, and so on. All signs that you would recognise as being things that you would often see with your own dogs at feeding time.
Vegan diet has many benefits. The main ones are that it reduces allergy symptom and cancer risk. It also helps our dogs to have a shinier skin and coat. But beside that, it also has a huge impact on environment and animal welfare. Simply put, the future of the dog food is sustainable and you can't achieve it by animal-based products.
People often worry that these so-called carnivorous animals might suffer if forced to consume a plant-based diet. So other people point out that commercial meat-based diets are completely unnatural for dogs and cats. They tend to include ingredients from species they would never naturally consume, such as cows, sheep, fish, and so on, with all sorts of unnatural additives formulated into dry kibble and other formulations and fed at predictable times each day. None of this is remotely natural for a dog or for a cat, actually, if you look at the natural feeding regime of an ancestral dog or cat.
Many are surprised when they first hear about vegan dog food, as it's not the traditional diet for dogs. But the more we talk about it, the more curious people get, and many big brands are starting to develop their own plant-based recipes in addition to their meat-based ones that they already have. We've served thousands of dogs so far, and we are growing 1,000% year over year, which is a testament to our vision and products we've built at PawCo Foods.
Introducing your dog to a vegan diet is not as easy as you might think. Some people want to make their own homemade vegan food for their dogs, and this has caused widespread concern among vet nutritionists and authorities, some of whom feel that feeding a dog a vegan diet can be too one-sided and even dangerous for the dog's well-being. In the UK, there has even been talk of imprisonment for feeding a dog vegan food, which could be considered a breach of the Animal Welfare Act.
Vegans could be jailed for feeding their dogs a vegan diet. And of course, it's sensationalized news, but let me get to the underlying issue. In the UK, the Animal Welfare Act mandates meeting a pet's nutritional needs, and that could be how it's housed, how it's fed, taking it out, etc. Now, feeding a dog a vegan plant-based diet is legal if the diet meets these needs. And this is where we stress the importance of don't just go off and do a Google search. You need to look at the physiology, the unique sort of requirements of your companion animal and seek veterinary nutritionist advice.
The UK Animal Welfare Act guidelines do not specifically mention vegan or vegetarian diets, nor does the law stipulate what a dog's diet should be in concrete terms, or that it must necessarily contain animal products. The law states that an animal's needs shall include its need for a suitable diet.
People often claim that it's unnatural to feed vegan diets to dogs. However, if you think about it, the commercial meat-based diets that are fed to dogs today are comprised of body parts from animals they'd never naturally consume, such as chickens, sheep, ducks, and other animals they'd never naturally consume, along with all sorts of additives, and packaged up into dry kibble or other formulations and fed at predictable times daily. So none of this resembles the natural feeding regime of an ancestral dog.
While it might seem unnatural to feed dogs a plant-based diet, what really important is making sure that they get all the nutrients. They need to stay healthy and happy. And surprisingly, we have 70 million dogs in US, and 10% are already on a vegan or vegetarian diets for many reasons, but the main reason is allergy. Top allergen for dogs are beef, chicken, and dairy.
I realized that it's really not so much about the ingredients itself, whether they are animal, protein, meat-based or plant-based ingredients. It's about whether you can meet the nutritional requirements of a dog with the diet that you choose. So I realized that I could actually combine my ethical conviction with my profession, which is being a veterinarian and a nutritionist in that field.
Despite the promise of the scientific evidence of the benefits of the entirely plant-based dog food, many people remain sceptical and critical.
It is vital to ensure optimum nutritional value of the composition, as it might not be the most natural option for dogs. The consumers will need to be educated on the topic to understand if the product has sufficient nutritional value. More long-term research on the matter is crucial.
There's two big challenges with the plant-based. One is that the delivery of those key nutrients can differ. So in meat, those nutrients may be more or they may be less bioavailable than they would be with the synthetic version, because the synthetic version is sort of a standalone versus being in the proximity of other nutrients, which may either help that key nutrient get into cells more readily or prevent it, right? So it can go either way.
I've seen actually vegan foods that have insect matter in it. So it might be that somebody thinks that insects are more flowers than animals. We think that it is not safe at this moment because there is not enough research that would say that.
There are now 11 studies looking at health outcomes of dogs maintained on vegan or vegetarian diets. That almost all of those have consistently shown that dogs have equivalent or superior health outcomes, providing the diets are formulated to be nutritionally sound.
Maailma muuttuu ja se maailman mukana täytyy muuttua. Sen yrittäjänä oppinut tietämään, että ei kannata olla pelkästään omaa mieltä, että kyllä aktiivisesti seurataan mitä tapahtuu. Mutta on myös ollut sirkkabuumia, sirkat on tullut ja sirkat on mennyt ja nyt nähdään sitten miten nämä buumit kehittyy, mutta kyllä mä näen, että se varmasti lihansyönti vähenee pitkässä tulevaisuudessa.
Regardless of the opinions expressed by critics and opponents of plant-based dog food, the popularity of vegan and vegetarian diets for dogs is increasing. Celebrities have joined the trend of feeding their pets vegetarian or vegan diets in recent years. F1 driver Lewis Hamilton, for example, often boasts on social media that his bulldog Roscoe is on a vegan diet. And believe or not, Roscoe has more than 1 million followers on Instagram.
In some cases, these benefits are really quite striking. There was a key 2022 study produced by Guelph Vet School in Canada, which is one of the leading vet schools in North America, that found that dogs maintained on a vegan diet were living 1.5 years longer than dogs maintained on meat-based diets. And for a person, that's equivalent to roughly an extra decade of life. So that's an incredibly important period of time.
A well-planned vegan diet offers numerous benefits. It's including alleviation of food allergies, improved digestion, reduced risks of obesity, and inflammatory conditions. And of course, research in veterinary sciences confirms that dogs on vegan plant-based diets can achieve comparable or better health outcomes than those on conventional diets.
The second interesting thing is that across all of these 11 studies, there seem to be certain health benefits that were consistently coming up.
After 20 years, when we've fed a lot of dogs all their life vegan food, I think that we have a better idea of if it's good or bad.
And so when it comes to sort of, if we think about what are our options to replace animal or traditional based meat with something that is nutritionally equivalent and is also accepted by consumers, at this point there's really, plant-based is still, it's still in its infancy. And so I could say, the only ingredient that really fits the bill would be cultivated meat.
Most of the companies that do vegan food put in a lot of amino acids that are that you can find in animal foods, but not in vegan foods. So it's more ultra processed and it's more supplemented, but it might be that it's possible. I've seen also kind of dog foods that are vegan that has eggshells in them. So there is kind of and it's a wild west at the moment.
Siinä kohtaa, kun ihmiset on lakannut kuluttamasta lihaa, eli niitä sivuvirtoja ei enää tule, niin ilman muuta se on siinä kohtaa tosi vaihtoehto, tai niin ainoa vaihtoehto, ja se kyllä pystytään tekemään. Mutta niin kauan kun ihminen käyttää kalaa, lihaa, tuotteita, kananmunaa, niin kauan sieltä tulee aina sitä sivuvirtaa, että sille järkevämpää käyttöä tällä hetkellä oikeasti ole kuin koiraruoksit. Se menisi seuraavaksi, tällä hetkellä menee minkeille vielä, mikä varmasti tulee vähenemään. Sitten menee seuraavaksi jonnekin tämmöiselle biokaasulaitokselle, niin kyllä koiraruoka paljon järkevämpi siinä kohtaa.
I think one set relates to not consuming animal-sourced allergens in the diet, so cutting out beef, lamb, pork and other animal-sourced allergens. We seem to be seeing consistently across studies lowered rates of gastrointestinal problems, itchy skin and itchy ear canals, all of which can be caused by animal-sourced allergens in the diet. So that's really interesting. This is something that can definitely impact the quality of lives of dogs.
Then the other thing with vegan food is that we're kind of thinking that I as an owner, I'm not eating meat, so I want my dog to be the same. And I think that's very unfortunate for that dog.
I'm not sure how did critics come to such conclusion and what their arguments are, because many puppies and adult dogs thrive on complete and balanced plant food. I think the best answer would be to share a story from real life. And this is about two newborn puppies, Woody and Willow from Scotland, that were weaned off with a mixture of commercial and homemade, complete and balanced vegan puppy food until their adult age, when they started adult dog vegan food. Their body weight results were in accordance with the growth curve of puppies that they breed and age, who were fed the usual meat-based food. This was for the whole time of their growth period. Our client, Lorna, was vegan and had her dog, Freya, on vegan diet all her life. Freya was the mother of these two puppies, and she was also on vegan diet for the entire time of pregnancy and nursing. Freya's and the puppy's energy levels and health were in optimal condition and was monitored until puppies came to their adult age.
the vegan pet food sector is witnessing a host of new brands and innovations. So, what's driving this trend? And how can manufacturers win against conventional meat brands? Founded in 2019, Shevega focuses on sustainable, cruelty-free dog nutrition. They aim to educate through their business and expert advice, providing scientifically formulated products that reflect ethical standards.
I'm deeply proud of Shevega and our vision to transform skepticism into understanding and create products that exceed the highest nutritional standards. So she as in the divine feminine and Vega as in star. And for us, it was really trying to bring in that feminine energy of compassion, kindness, care, but built on rigorous science. So it wasn't just emotion. And it was born out of a vision to harmonize pet nutrition with ethical responsibility and environmental sustainability.
Shevega supplements are human-grade quality and made in the UK. They are designed for healthy dogs and those with health conditions. We based our diet plans on cutting-edge research. Shevega delivers global workshops and hosts the podcast Shevega Talks, discussing plant-based diets with experts worldwide. The decision to formulate 100% plant diets was made after many remarkable results in dogs with health issues. One notable case was Topaz, a 15-year-old female Bichon Frise that I saw in 2019. At that time, she was on a veterinary specialist prescribed meat-based kidney diet. Despite veterinary care and care of their owners, her health was deteriorating. Topaz got prognosed another 6 months of life. Her condition started improving as I was taking animal ingredients out of her current food and replacing them with the plant-based protein ingredients. And when we swapped her kidney supplements with our Shevega supplements that are specifically formulated for her kidney problems and for a diet that we created.
So supplementing is a remedy that ensures precision and care, proving that plant-based diets are both a viable and responsible alternative.
The pet food market in the US is enormous, and vegan options are taking an increasing share of the pie. One such company is San Francisco-based PawCo Foods, which has seen tremendous growth and interest in its first years of operation. They make fresh dog food from plants approved by vets and animal nutritionists. Their selection of complete and balanced food is formulated by board-certified animal nutritionists.
My name is Mahsa Wazin. I'm the founder and CEO of PawCo Foods. PawCo is the first AI-optimized pet food company, and we are offering plant-based pet products. After getting my PhD in nanoscience, I joined Impossible Foods as one of the early scientists before founding PawCo Foods. At PawCo, we are a team of scientists and animal nutritionists on a mission to create healthy, sustainable, and eco-friendly pet food. When we were getting ready to launch our plant-based products, we did a palatability test with a large panel of dogs. The results were pretty amazing. The dogs ate 90% of the food on the first day and then 100% on the second day. This is a big deal because if dogs try something they don't they usually won't go back for the second day or second bite. Our products are shown to have a very high liking score even among those picky eaters. The other factor that makes PawCo unique is our AI platform, that it helps us to create more than 10 different healthy and sustainable recipes in less than a year. Without AI, it could have have taken us, years, if not decade, to get there.
VEGDOG is a German brand known for its vegan dog food and treats. They focus on local production and prefer local suppliers. The company's aim is to produce dog food in a resource-efficient way to minimise the CO2 footprint.
We really want to have a good quality, and as also for the CO2 footprint, it's very important to keep the distance of the ingredients short and to make it more regional. And this is why we always have an eye on this. And we want to reduce the transport emissions and also supporting the regional farmers.
For us, transparency and honesty is most important. Also for the customer, we really know and we are aware of our responsibility that we have with selling these products. And as I said before, we're selling products for which the customer is making a decision not for themselves but for another being. And there's a lot to do. Vegan dog food is not a niche market anymore, it's a booming market. And there's a huge customer group actually developing out of millennials that choose pets over children actually. And the whole part of millennials are already living vegan. This is what we're targeting here.
And studies show dogs can thrive on a balanced vegan diet. And we are following the FADIAF guidelines and work with vets to ensure the fully safety for the dogs and the customer. As we have a look in at the biggest universities in Germany, that's the University of Berlin and the University of Munich, they are both having 2 studies on vegan dog food right now, and we are really, really thrilled to get the first results. So we really see also a shift in the research part, that there is much more going on right now than it has been 10 years ago. So yes, there is a change, and a well-needed change, because to make it more customer-friendly, the research part shouldn't just be a side project. It should be the base where we just develop our products on.
Vegan foods for dogs are based on usually the idea that we will save the world. And it's kind of, I can understand it, because there's a lot of dogs and cats around, and they are actually eating a lot of the food that we're producing. And so there might be a chance actually to be able to use vegan foods if they are very kind of supplemented with all the things that are needed in them.
We can leverage AI to generate an unlimited number of healthy foods and products customized for every dog based on their taste and health condition. We're already seeing specialized recipes for different breeds, gender, and age. Soon we will have perfect recipes for your pet that is 100% customized based on your lovely pet's condition. And also AI can help us to create many different sustainable and optimized food products in a very short period of time that was not possible with traditional methods.
I think the biggest threat facing us today and in the future is the destruction of the environment and climate change. And probably the biggest cause of deforestation on the planet is the livestock sector, and it's also one of the top causes of greenhouse gas emissions.
Ilmastonmuutos on mun mielestä ehkä suurin aikamme epäoikeudenmukaisuus. Sitä aiheuttaa ne, jotka tulevat siitä vähiten kärsimään, niin siitä kärsivät kaikkein eniten ne, jotka sitä vähiten aiheuttavat.
In April 2024, Nature Food published an article headlining that over 80% of the European Union's Common Agricultural Policy supports emissions-intensive animal products. In other words, more than 80% of the EU's agricultural subsidies go to the production of animals or animal feed. These products are responsible for 84% of the EU's food-related greenhouse gas emissions. Surprisingly, more funding is directed towards the production of animal feed, €21 billion, than to the animal production itself, €18 billion. The production of feed often remains somewhat invisible to the public, as people see fields full of plants without considering their purpose is to feed animals.
The most exciting study I've done is really the one on environmental sustainability. There have been a series of studies demonstrating that meat-based pet food has a significant environmental impact, but nobody had managed to calculate what the environmental benefits might be if the world's dogs transitioned onto nutritionally sound vegan diets. So I set out to do this, and it wasn't really possible until very recently when a very large-scale study was produced on all the ingredients used within pet food in the US. So I looked at all that data about the food animal species, the tonnages, all the other components of pet food, and I looked at the consumption by dogs, cats and humans in the US of animal-based ingredients. The first thing I did was I was able to calculate that in the US, 20% of all livestock are actually consumed by dogs and cats, not by people. Globally, it's about 9%. In countries with high pet ownership, it would be more like the US.
Tässä esimerkiksi on jo tehty sitä, että ollaan siirretty Suomeen se tuotanto, missä sitä kulutetaan. Että sehän on tosi järjetöntä tuoda vaikka Kanadasta tänne asti sitä, ja eka vielä raaka-aineet sinne ja tuoda takaisin. Siinä ei ole mitään järkeä ollut.
Se hiilijalanjälkihan on kovin pieni meillä, koska tähän tulee niin kuin sieltä teurastamoiden tähteestä hyvin pitkälle se raaka-aine. Ja niin kuin, no raffisti voisi sanoa, että jos miettii, että se verrokkituote on vaikka soijarouhe, mikä on valmistettu Brasiliassa, niin meidän vastaavan tuotteen hiilijalanjälki on noin 1/10 siitä.
We found that a vegan diet for dogs can make a huge difference when it comes to environmental sustainability. By choosing plant-based ingredient instead of meat, we are using fewer resources like water, land, and animal farming. So far, we conserve more than 280 million in water and reduce around 1 million kg in CO2. This is based on only thousands of dogs who are subscribed to PawCo. Imagine what happens if millions of dogs adopt a healthy vegan diet. The impact on the environment will be significant. In short, vegan dog foods are a fantastic way to help our planet.
For a long time, we've understood that there are major environmental benefits associated with plant-based diets for people, but we haven't realised that pet food's a really important part of this picture. Actually, a lot of livestock are not consumed by people. They're actually consumed by dogs and cats, especially by dogs. And consequently, there are major environmental benefits when we replace those diets with nutritionally sound vegan diets.
On the other side, many don't realize what's in conventional pet food and in the meat-based products. And we aim to educate here and inspire a shift towards sustainable, plant-based and most animal-friendly options to address not only but also the climate crisis.
As meat is one of their, it is the central ingredient in the pet food industry, right? And it also happens to be the biggest driver of greenhouse gas emissions when it comes to their products. So manufacturers are very interested in this, in cultivated meat, especially in the more recent years. And as all of these companies are shifting their businesses towards becoming more environmentally sustainable. Cultivated meat is increasingly something that they're looking into more and more.
If the world's pet dogs were transitioned onto nutritionally sound vegan diets, you would free up more greenhouse gases than produced by the entire United Kingdom. We would also save vast amounts of land and fresh water. You'll be able to spare it's sufficient food energy to feed 449 million additional people, which is more than the entire population of the European Union. So there are enormous environmental benefits associated with nutritionally sound vegan diets for dogs.
First of all, sustainability is key for us. So I strongly think that it's actually for every company today, it's the responsibility to take action in this field.
Fewer than 85% greenhouse gas emissions and 85% less water would be used in making cultivated meat. There's 99% less land that's required to make cultivated meat, and about 25% less energy is required to make cultivated meat versus traditional animal agriculture-based meat.
Me ei ole sitä suoraan tutkittu, mutta me tiedetään se. Eli kun tämä kananmuna nyt oli jo luonnostaan niin kuin ykkösluokkansa, niin se oli villikalan jälkeen se toiseksi paras hiilijalanko päästöltään. Sitten se, että me pelastaa sitä sivuvirtaa ja tulevaisuudessa vielä enemmän, mikä voisi mennä jätteeksi, siinä kohtaan päästään jopa miinusmerkkiseen. Ja se on ihan yhtä laadukasta se lemmikkiruoka edelleen.
For VEGDOG, so due to the vegan recipes, of course, there's already massive cut of carbon emissions here, and we go even further. So we look at the packaging and choose the most eco-friendly packaging.
The factory uses only regenerative energy, solar, wind, and water. Excess heat is collected and utilized in the process, which preserves energy and the environment. The factory is equipped with its own solar power station with 746 panels, 218 megawatt-hour production. The factory's own power station reduces the factory's CO2 paw print about 34 tons per year. Approximately 20% of the overall energy is generated on its roof. Locally sourced Finland Nordics ingredients are chosen, when possible, to lower traffic emissions. We don't produce any unrecyclable waste.
Esimerkiksi jos jossain tuotteissa tai pakkauksessa lukee joku päästömäärä, niin jos ei sitä pysty suhteuttamaan johonkin toiseen tuotteeseen tai johonkin toiseen asiaan tai johonkin elämäntapaan ja kulutukseen liittyvään asiaan, niin yleensä ne luvut pelkästään ei kerro juuri mitään. 100 kiloa hiilidioksidiekvivalenttia ei sano kellekään mitään. Eikä se itse asiassa mullekaan sano hirveästi mitään, vaikka mä oon tämän aiheen asiantuntija. Eli se pitää aina suhteuttaa johonkin toiseen asiaan, joka on sitten helpommin ymmärrettä, vaikka kilometri kuljettua autolla tai koko vuoden kestävä hiilibudjetti tai tällaisia asioita.
The environmental impact of currently consumed pet food is still unclear and contested. A recent study explored the environmental impact of dog and cat feed, showing greenhouse gas emission rates of 33.56 kilograms carbon dioxide, equivalent per 1,000 kilocalories for wet food, and 4.25 kilograms carbon dioxide equivalent per 1,000 kilocalories for dry pet food.
Varsinkin sen märkäruoan osalta niin todella hälyttäviä. Eli siinä paukkuu jo niin kuin naudanlihan hiilijalanjälki rikki.
Further research has suggested that US dry cat and dog food emissions were 25 to 30% of emissions associated with providing food to US citizens.
We're in a situation today where we're living through the 6th mass extinction event since fossil records began, and during my lifetime, we've had more than 50% of all animal populations disappear from the planet. I think that anyone that's genuinely concerned about these issues has to be looking at diet, because diet is one of the top causes of this problem, in particular livestock products, that's meat, milk and eggs.
And you know, as a Native American proverb says, we do not inherit the earth from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children. So we need to look after not only ourselves, not only our companion animals, but also the planet.
After my still very short time of experience with a plant-fueled diet for my dogs, now 6 months, I dare say that it has certainly been worth trying and will continue to be worth trying. However, I must stress the fact that I can be confident because I have a pet nutritionist experts to back me up in any twists and turns that may occur, so I'm on a kind of safe side here, right? My wish is that every dog owner would reconsider and re-evaluate their dog's current diet and consider a plant-based option as possible choice. And of course, to really thoroughly research the vegan options available and consult a veterinary nutritionist to better understand the labels and ingredient lists and even the options for homemade food, whether the dog is on a vegan or meat-based diet.
The dog food industry is changing. Traditional meat-based diets have a loyal following, but new innovations are sweeping the market. Pure plant-based diets are on the rise alongside emerging pet food alternatives such as raw meat, insects, in vitro meat, plants including seaweed, yeast and fungi and air protein. Not to mention dog food made from natural bacterial protein, which is already available, for example, in the UK.
I strongly believe that plant-based alternative proteins are becoming the main products of the future in the market also for pet food. Actually, within the next 10 years, I think it's the priority in this field and for pet food.
And we can leverage AI to generate an unlimited number of healthy foods and products customized for every dog based on their taste and health condition.
Yksilötason ikään kuin valinnoilla on semmoinen, niillä luodaan tai ylläpidetään tietynlaisia normeja koko ajan. Ja sitäkin valtaa voidaan käyttää parempaan kuluttamiseen, mutta mä ajattelen, että niitä valintoja ei pidä nähdä yksilön valintoina, vaan sosiaalisina valintoina, jolla nimenomaan niitä ei tehdä sen oman hiilijalanjäljen pienentämiseksi, vaan luodakseen uusia normeja.
So there's a responsibility on individuals, and as you say, as good citizens and good responsible business owners, and to really understand that we don't have to follow the norm. We have to follow, genuinely like what's the right thing to do. And that's really critical.
Yes, and making an impact on that way. And just having the numbers on, we just make like examples, saved chicken, saved cows, saved pigs. This is what my personal drive is. It's my mission to save more and more.
We aim to expand, innovate, and make vegan options mainstream in pet nutrition.
And just to get rid of all animal products in the food chain. Because we don't need it.
Totta kai sen verran tämä on aina bisnestä, että jos ihmiset haluaa sitä, niin sitä tehdään kyllä.
The future of the dog food is sustainable and you can't achieve it by animal-based product.
Nutritionally sound vegan diets have got a fantastic future, I would say, because they address environmental sustainability concerns really well and also concerns about the welfare of food animals. And they seem to have health outcomes which are equivalent and sometimes even better than those for dogs maintained on meat-based diets. So I think this industry has a really bright future.
Että jos me syödään terveellisempää ja parempaa ruokaa, liikutaan järkevämmin, keskitytään elämässä tärkeisiin asioihin, niin eihän se ole luopumista, se on nimenomaan parempaa elämää.